Welcome back to Jost on Unboxing. Once again, I have a very bad cold, so I'll try to speak as clearly as I possibly can. But I thought I'd do the fifth and final review, preview rather, for the 5 versus 5 card, which is almost upon us. And the one that I've yet to do and that I'll be doing today is ZHILEI ZHANG versus Deontay Wilder, which, with the pullout of Artur Beterbiev in the undisputed light heavyweight title fight, I believe that Zhang versus Wilder is now the sort of main event, if you like. Although, to be honest with you, the 5 versus 5 card, they're pretty much all main events as far as I'm concerned. But yeah, this is a very difficult fight to predict because I think you're dealing with two fighters who are coming off defeats, and both those defeats were to Joseph Parker. Who'd have believed it maybe 2 years ago, but it's true. Wilder's, but by the way, I should point out, of course, both these men are, I think Zhang is he 40 or 41? Wilder is pushing 40. And they both seen better days, but Wilder's defeat to Parker was a bizarre performance, a non-performance, I suppose you'd call it. Just a very, very odd, inexplicable type of, I don't know what was wrong with him. He didn't look like he was interested in being there. Total non-effort, really. He didn't seem like his mind was on the job at all. He didn't seem to care. He didn't seem to want to emphasize his strengths, or strength certainly, which is that powerful right hand. And Wilder's jab is, in one sense, it's underrated because it always set up the right hand, the massive right hand. This was a case of Wilder doing one of boxing's fundamentals extremely well, which is blinding the opponent with the jab and then, the fast twitch muscles which ping that laser-like right hand over the top and knock out opponents. And God knows he did that with great effect, not just against some extremely low-level opposition for the bulk of his early career. There really wasn't anyone on his record up to the point where he fought Bermane Stiverne. And even then, during his WBC title reign, he wasn't fighting what I would call, top 5 heavyweights anyway. But he got the job done. And against some sort of decent B- fighters like Dominic Brazil, C plus B- fighters, Ariola, I suppose, bit of a retread, wasn't he? Gerald Washington was undefeated, but we now know wasn't very good at all. Nevertheless, Wilder, certainly in the case of Brazil, I think that was that early knockout was, and the manner in which he did it was very, very effective. Although, of course, again, Brazil was made to measure because he was so slow. But it was always a case of, yes, he can hit hard, but eventually he's going to come a cropper with someone who he fights who is, has skills. And so it was when Wilder bumped into Tyson Fury. The first fight, I think we can all agree, was a Fury win. It's given the draw. It's iconic for that 12th round resurrection by Fury where he got off the floor having been knocked out for about 5 seconds. And the look on Wilder's face when Fury got up, that in itself is almost as iconic as the knockdown itself, the look on Wilder's face, because he was clearly celebrating before Jack Reese had counted to 10. And then, of course, Fury won the rest of the round, essentially. Then we had the rematch, which was all one-way traffic for Fury. Wilder came up with these absolutely lunatic reasons for being defeated. Fury had cheated and Wilder had been betrayed by his corner, and the suit was too heavy and egg weights in the gloves and all this absolute drivel. And then in the third fight, where both Wilder and Fury, neither was at their best. Nevertheless, it was a fantastic fight. Wilder, having got rid of Mark Breland in his corner, had made Malik Scott, who he beat in a round earlier on in his career, he'd made him the head trainer. To this day, I don't know why. To this day, Deontay, I don't know why. Yeah, very strange decision. I don't see what Malik Scott has brought to the table. A lot of people have said that Malik Scott has succeeded in turning Deontay Wilder into Malik Scott. And I don't think that's as facetious as it sounds, because if you look at the Parker fight, I mean, what on earth Wilder was doing and what on earth Malik Scott was doing in that corner. He didn't say a thing to Wilder. There was no urgency. He wasn't giving him any sort of constructive criticism or suggestions or anything of any description. There was absolutely no insight, no apparent insight, almost a fear at criticizing, almost a fear at getting in your fighter's face and saying, look, for Christ's sake, you are losing this fight. And you are losing it very, very badly, and you're not making any effort, and for God's sake, do this, that, and the other. Scott was what he always was, which was essentially a cheerleader. And you can be good friends with someone, but if you hire someone as a head trainer, they have a job to do, and that might be, breaking a few eggs to make a few omelettes. But no, I've no idea why. I've no idea why Malik Scott was made head trainer, and I've no idea what he has brought to the table. I just don't. So we now have a Wilder who is essentially at the crossroads of his career, despite his advanced age. And the surprise that was had when he teamed up with Eddie Hearn, when Hearn signed him, albeit on a fight-by-fight basis. I mean, it was very surprising, but I think if you sort of try and play amateur psychologist and look at things from both, not just Wilder's perspective, but Hearn's perspective, you will see a fighter who, in a sense, is looking. Okay, he's looking at it from I'm at last chance saloon. Yeah, why not? I'll go over to Eddie Hearn. Eddie's saying some interesting things. Eddie is offering me good money. Yeah, why not go over there? What else have I got to do? It's now or never. I'm at the age where, there is that type of mentality. But I get it. I get the feeling it also runs a little bit deeper in that Eddie, as we know, he's not just a cheerleader. He's slightly more nuanced than that. We're talking about someone who likes to sort of appeal to a fighter's ego and psyche, and the old id, the ego, and all the rest of it. Eddie is a bit more intuitive, I think, than the average cheerleader, and I think he views Wilder almost as a pet project, or as perhaps a side project in which he can take this guy who, if he'd had him from the word go, would have probably made him hundreds of millions of dollars, would have probably made him into a better fighter by matching him more correctly, and would probably have helped create a bigger legacy for that fighter. He's taken him late in the day, and he's seen if he can squeeze the rag dry and get as much that's left out of Wilder as is possible. And it's also a nice little curveball in the 5 versus 5 narrative that Eddie should take Deontay Wilder, of all people, and make him the captain of the Matchroom team. I think that alone reveals a certain emotional and psychological gamble on Eddie's behalf, just to see how Deontay reacts to that. I think it's more than just wooing Deontay and saying, look, you're great, have the captaincy. Double points, of course, if the captain wins as well, as with regards to the 5 versus 5. it's like Eddie's thinking, I think this guy's got one more great fight in him, and I think I'm the man to bring it out of him. So there is a goal there, an achievement to be had from Eddie's point of view, to resurrect the sort of in the wilderness nomad that is Deontay Wilder, to bring him home, to get him that one last great payday from one last great performance, that one last great victory. And let's be honest, if he does beat Zhang, this will be the best win of his career. I would say so, yeah. Even though Zhang is very advanced. Now, of course, Zhang, we can't dismiss Zhang at all, despite the fact that he was beaten by Parker, and despite the fact that he, when he faced Parker, was clearly out of shape, and despite the fact that he is 40, 41, whatever he is. If you add all this stuff together, it's not a mystery to see why Zillay Zhang has such a poor gas tank. And throughout his career, he's shown very, very poor stamina. A lot of people say, "Oh, he's just got a bad gas tank." No, if you're an older man and you come in, 2-3 stone overweight or whatever it is. I mean, he's 20 stone last time. Was he 20 stone or even more than that? It was close to 300 pounds, wasn't he? About 293. Look, if you do that and you're an older man, what, are you going to have more than 6 rounds in you? I mean, I don't think so. And I don't know what he's going to come in at this time round, but in the past, it doesn't seem that he's learned many lessons. Now, you could say that the two top performances of Zhang's career are the two Joe Joyce victories, and they were very good victories over an undefeated Joyce, and then, which was an injury. The first fight was an injury victory. Joyce's eye was swollen shut. Although, if you look at that point of the fight where that was stopped, Zhang was beginning to gas a little bit there. And if Joyce had hung in there and not been so badly injured and had maybe come on stronger, could have been very, very interesting in the second half of that fight. The second fight, only one winner. That was Zhang by clean knockout. Absolutely shattered the supposedly indestructible chin of Joe Joyce, proving that you just cannot, it doesn't matter how good your chin is, you can't let people have slices of it, just batter it willy-nilly. So if you take those two fights out, which were very good victories, the most interesting fight, I think, in the Zhang canon is the Filip Hrgović fight, because he scored what could have been an early knockdown. I thought it was more of a slip, but he did clip him on the way down, and he half clipped him. And again, did very, very well. He showed how good his skills are, because Hrgović himself has very good skills, but Zhang was able to box very well and take a lead that over the last third of the fight, he let slip, simply because, again, he just ran out of fuel. He just ran out of steam. It wasn't a great performance by Hrgović. A lot of people said, well, he had issues. I think his father passed away and there were out of the ring issues. Okay, that's fair enough. And don't forget, Zhang himself had some health issues when he got that draw with Jerry Forrest, where he just about hung on to the end of the fight, just about, and ended up in hospital. So yes, sometimes there are extenuating circumstances. But I think with regard to the Filip Hrgović fight, you can look at that from 2 points of view. You can say, yes, he ran out of steam like he always does. On the other hand, you can say, well, as with the Jerry Forrest fight, he hung in there and he lasted the distance, just under great adversity, and he showed a very good chin. And there's no doubt Zhang has an excellent chin, as does Wilder. I see no evidence that Zhang is going to capitulate if the going gets tough. And we know for a fact Wilder won't, because the beating he took in the third Fury fight, he had to be glued to that canvas, absolutely nailed to the floor, which is what Fury eventually did. But that was a great fight, and not the most skilled fight, but from pure entertainment point of view, and to illustrate the sheer guts and determination of Wilder, I've no doubt he's a genuine warrior. He's a fighting man. So I don't think we're going to see either guy necessarily imposing his will over the other in this fight. What you might see is, well, it wouldn't surprise me if this fight was another example of Zhang beginning quite quickly, dominating early over the first 4 or 5 rounds. And if Wilder is still in the mix, Wilder coming back into it when Zhang's work rate subsides, as I think it almost inevitably will. Now, of course, the question is Wilder going to get through the first 4, 5, 6 rounds? Well, yeah, possibly. But then you flip that on its head and say, okay, Wilder's proven himself to have a good chin and determination and all the rest of it. But what about Zhang? Will Zhang be able to avoid the big right hand from Wilder? That's assuming Wilder throws it. He didn't throw it against Parker. I mean, Parker won that fight against Wilder at a canter. He didn't really have to get out of second or third gear himself to beat Wilder, because Wilder was just so not there, so non-present. It was a strange fight, that one. The way I see things going is, I think, as I say, I think Zhang will dominate the early rounds, will begin to wane after the halfway mark. I don't think he'll be able to get rid of Wilder quickly. I think Wilder will be able to hang on, could hit the floor when Zhang is sharp. Zhang, much better technique than Wilder. Wilder will try and land the big right cross like he always does. Zhang's chin has shown no vulnerability. He might buzz Zhang, could even put him on the floor, but I think Zhang gets up. Zhang's power is very different, although he does hit hard. It's more that clubbing, like being hit with a sack of cement power, rather than those laser beam shots that Wilder throws. I see Wilder surviving the first 6 rounds. I see him coming on strong, probably the last third of the fight. But you know what? Most people are saying this is going to be a knockout victory for either man. And while I perfectly understand the arguments for that, I've got a feeling this might surprise people and go the distance. And I think when all is said and done, I just can't get Wilder's last performance or non-performance out of my head. Whereas with Zhang, even when he lost to Parker, as badly conditioned as he was and as badly as he flagged late in the fight, he nevertheless showed he went the distance and he showed some ability and still showed some good power. I think this is going to last the distance, this fight. I think the man that will get the verdict is going to be Zillay Zhang in a 116, 112, probably a 115, 113 in the mix, something like that. I mean, I'm excluding knockdowns, but you know what I mean? I don't see it. Say 8-4 to Zhang, 7-5 to Zhang, something like that. I know a lot of people are going to be a little bit taken back by that, but I just think they both got good jaws. One's got good stamina, which is Wilder. He does tend to get buzzed. He does tend to huff and puff a bit, like he did against Ortiz. But he finds his second wind, whereas Zhang tends not to. So I see it going the distance, and I see a points victory for Zillay Zhang. Could even be controversial, could be a majority, could even be a split. But I think Zhang wins probably on points. So that's my prediction. Let me know what you think. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Comments below, of course. Please subscribe to the channel if you are new to the channel, and also hit the like button. That'll be a big deal, and spread the word about Joe Stunner Boxing. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I always appreciate your time. Much love to all of you, and I'll catch you later. Bye for now.